child. Now, so he leaves his wife and his young kids to go start a new life and lets them all think that he died, that he just vanished. I mean, can you imagine the pain putting his family through like that? To go off with whomever in Uzbekistan? Are you kidding me? And then the searching going on, the search and rescue efforts, the sheriff's department. There was a local nonprofit as well that devoted a tremendous amount of time and resources trying to find him in that lake. Nope. Let's talk about this and what it takes to carry out such a plan. I'm going to bring back in criminologist Dr. Honor Doro Townshend, criminal defense and civil attorney, also celebrity attorney John Phillips, and want to welcome into the conversation retired NYPD Detective Mike Alcazar. Great to have you all here. And we had the tech gremlins interrupting our last segment. Detective Alcazar, you're going to be my lucky number 3 here. Could we start with you, please? Your thoughts on what this guy is alleged to have done?
So when I heard about the story, I was just wondering what made law enforcement think that he staged his own death. Could it be possible that he just ran away? Is that a possibility? And of course, I put my investigator hat. Is there a potential for like foul play? And I don't know if they're keeping their cards close to their vest, law enforcement, but do they have video surveillance of him in the Canadian border? I mean, if in fact did use his passport, they have to be able to track that. So they seem pretty confident that he's not in the lake, which is massive. So, you know, I found the press conference very interesting. Again, I got my investigator hat. I do have my doubts. I mean, he didn't report himself missing. He didn't report himself dead. So there's a lot of things at play that I was thinking about, and maybe I just don't know enough about the case.
It is still developing. You know, fair enough, Detective. I know a couple details that maybe could convince you. So he requested a new American passport. He said that his passport had gone missing, and then his family very easily found the first one at home. It wasn't missing, and then he, you know, requests or goes to Canada. Then after that. The other thing he did, you know, they saw this digital trail, you know, taking out the life insurance policy, move some funds to a different account. When they found the kayak, it was overturned along with a life jacket, you know, kind of making it seem like, oh, maybe he disappeared. This is bizarre. Let's get into his mind a little bit if we can. I want to bring in criminologist Dr. Honor here on this point. What do you think might have been going through this guy's mind at the time?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's a really interesting case, and the psychological motivations behind faking one's own death is what's happened here, often stem from, I think, a place of looking for escapism, or conversely, a kind of a need for control if someone feels that their life has got out of control. But what's interesting is that I do think it would indicate serious narcissistic tendencies, because this is someone who so deeply lacks empathy for their own family, their own children, their own wife, you know, combined with a deep-seated dissatisfaction for their current circumstances. But to be able to do all of that and, you know, just disappear and not be too concerned for their well-being and the psychological impact on his family is really quite telling of someone's mindset, I think.
Right, and that's really helpful, Dr. Honor. Thank you. It was the Canadian law enforcement authorities who ran his name through their systems the day after he disappeared, and that's how they figured out this guy went and applied for a second passport and received it in May. And so that raised some suspicions, and it was from there investigators looked at this guy's own devices and then kind of found a little bit of a treasure trove of indications that he may have just wanted to poof, make himself vanish. John Phillips, I know you've seen a lot, and we know that family law cases can get really testy. Here, you know, we hear about spousal issues and people leaving their spouses, but to leave their own kids too? Have you ever heard of something like this?
This is pretty extreme, I got to admit. One thing that you can kind of tell is this is a small town, and they were probably a little slower on the uptick as to what happened. But just imagine the PTSD. Like, it's kind of like when a parent commits suicide, like just the rejection that these kids are going to have for life is just awful.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, the healing that they've been, can you imagine, and Dr. Honor, let me go back to you. Can you imagine these kids in their position, and they think their dad is dead, and then they're getting indications because the story's making national and international headlines that, oh no, he's in Uzbekistan with a new woman. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I think the harm, emotionally speaking, to the family is only going to be amplified by all of this. And it's going to amplify their grief, their feelings of betrayal. But I also think that's a point where we, as people interested in crime and true crime on social media, do need to be careful as well about information that's shared, because we have to remember the family and those close to this person, and just making sure that, any information shared is verified and not circulating misinformation.
Right. That's a great point, Dr. Honor. Thank you. I'm going to play another clip from the press conference. Here's some information that investigators shared.
He cleared the browser on the day of his disappearance. He sank the laptop into the cloud on August 11th. He took photos of his passports. We found out that he moved funds to a foreign bank, changing his email and communication with a woman in Uzbekistan. He took out a $375,000 life insurance policy in January, and he purchased airline cards. Due to these discoveries of the new evidence, we were sure that Ryan was not in our lake.
Well, if they catch him, this guy's going to be in big trouble. So let's talk about what civil and criminal possibilities lurk for Mr. Borgwart. Let me bring back in the power panel. And Detective Alcazar, I want to talk to you about the criminality aspect of this, and John Phillips about the civil penalties here. So we know that the Sheriff's Department seeking restitution for all of the resources they spent. That nonprofit should too. What about some of the other things? We got the life insurance policy. Is this guy paying taxes? I can think of a few crimes. Detective Alcazar, what do you think he could possibly be charged with if he's caught?
I mean, if he did, in fact, set this up, he could definitely be charged with insurance fraud, which is a felony, and could face heavy penalties, fines, and definitely jail time. But again, Julie, I keep going back to it. Did law enforcement jump to this? Did they just make this decision to think that he staged his own death? I still have my doubts. Could this guy have just ran away? Maybe he just wanted to. What's the domestic history in the household? I mean, he didn't cover up his tracks too well. There's so much electronic evidence of him making, sending money and getting a new passport. Again, I have my doubts. I'm not sure he's 100% guilty of this. So I think law enforcement in this case is probably just embarrassed of what the actions they took. And now it looks like, they made a fool of themselves. It's possible, right? I don't know.
Interesting take. I always love your take, Detective and Professor Alcazar. John Phillips, we're almost out of time, but this is a really important point. I want to end with you, please. Civil issues this guy is looking at. Who might be suing him?
I mean, you're going to have government resources that they're going to want to recoup through restitution. You have the insurance company that's going to want their $375,000 back. And this nonprofit who spent a lot of money getting into that lake trying to find the body. All of them are going to have claims against this man once he's found. And anybody that cooperated with him, frankly.
Right. We're going to continue following this story. Excellent insight.